You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your PMP certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. This session is designed as an intensive rapid-fire drill. You'll work through 6 micro-scenarios, each meant to take about a minute. The goal is to practice identifying the verb in the question words like first, next, or best, and then pair it with the artifact that governs the situation. This forces you to act quickly, but still with discipline. Escalation is almost never the first move. Analysis and artifact checks come first. As you go, mark whether your confidence in each decision feels high, medium, or low. That way you know which areas to revisit in later drills. The guiding rules are straightforward. First, always look for the verb trigger. It sets the time frame. First often means gather or analyze before deciding. Next suggests you've already done some initial work and now need to act. Best usually points to the most professional, policy-driven choice. Second, ask which artifact applies. Scope baseline, backlog, change log, risk register, benefits register, or contract. Finally, act at the level closest to the work. Facilitate and analyze before escalating. These 3 rules verb, artifact, action, are your compass in rapid-fire sets. Let's begin with the first micro-scenario. The stem is long and somewhat unclear about your role. Options include gathering more data, consulting the scope baseline, escalating immediately, or simply starting work. The trap is that the vagueness invites you to guess. The way to cut through is to anchor on the artifact. Scope questions are always about the scope baseline, the requirements traceability matrix, or the acceptance criteria. If those aren't consulted, you're deciding on opinion. That's the clue to look for. The correct move in this first case is to consult the scope baseline and acceptance criteria first. Summarize the requirement in plain terms, check traceability, and then decide. Gathering more data is too vague without direction. Escalating is premature because you haven't shown stewardship yet. Starting work is reckless without agreement. Anchoring yourself in the baseline and acceptance criteria ensures traceability and avoids wasted effort. This is an easy warm-up but sets the tone for the rest of the set, artifact before action. Now to the second micro-scenario. It's a multi-select item. A suspected quality regression has emerged, and you're asked to choose 2 actions. The options include holding more meetings, escalating to leadership, running a Pareto analysis of defects, or creating a targeted communication plan. The trap here is doubling up on communication or escalation and ignoring analysis. Remember that pairs must balance. One should focus on analysis, the other on action or communication. 2 escalations or 2 meetings look busy but achieve nothing. The correct pair is to analyze the top defect cause using Pareto and then communicate a targeted plan to stakeholders. This balances analysis with action. The wrong pairings, 2 meetings, 2 escalations, or communication without analysis, skip half the work. This pattern is common on the exam. Whenever you see a 2-part answer, check whether the actions complement each other. Balanced pairs are professional. Duplicated pairs are traps. Keep that heuristic in mind as you move forward. The third microscenario raises a risk issue. A third-party API is showing signs of throttling, and the launch date is fixed. The team is worried, but some suggest hoping it won't happen. Others say to re-baseline the project immediately. The options tempt you into either ignoring the risk or overreacting without analysis. The artifact to consult here is the risk register, along with the schedule model. Those show you whether the risk is recorded, who owns it, and how it impacts timing. Without them, you're managing by instinct, not evidence. The correct move is to add a spike test to confirm the risk, create a caching mitigation story, resequence if needed, and update the risk register. This keeps cadence intact while treating the risk proactively. Hoping it will not materialize is not risk management. Re-baselining before analysis is jumping ahead. Escalating to leadership without evidence wastes bandwidth. The exam is probing whether you'll treat risks as managed events, not crises. Evidence and mitigation first, baseline changes later if required. The fourth micro-scenario deals with a stakeholder disagreement over scope interpretation. One side insists the feature is complete, the other says acceptance criteria are missing. The options include signing off unilaterally, escalating immediately, or facilitating a review. This is a classic test of whether you'll fall into authority bias or appeasement. The artifacts that govern scope disputes are always the requirements traceability matrix and the acceptance criteria. They define whether the requirement is verified. Without them, the debate is just noise. The disciplined response is to facilitate a review session, walk through the acceptance criteria in the RTM, and capture the decision in the log. Signing off unilaterally ignores evidence. Escalating without facilitation shows you skipped your role. Hiding the issue or pushing forward destroys trust. The right action is artifact-driven facilitation. This shows stewardship, protects the baseline, and maintains relationships. Even in a rapid-fire context, the rhythm holds. Artifact, analysis, decision, update. These first four micro-scenarios illustrate the traps that repeat constantly. The sponsor's intent is not evidence. Two actions that do the same thing are not a valid pair. Risks cannot be wished away or re-baselined prematurely. Scope conflicts must be resolved with traceability, not authority. Each case looks different, but the underlying principle is the same. The artifact provides clarity, and the process path provides discipline. Saying the artifact aloud as you answer strengthens this reflex. Before moving to the second half, take a quick reset. In practice, this is the moment where you pause, breathe, and check your pacing. Ask yourself, did I name the artifact in each answer? Did I avoid shortcuts like approve now or escalate first? If so, you're building the reflex the exam wants. If not, mark those items for review. The second half will push further with incident response, compliance, and benefits management. Still rapid fire, but demanding sharper reflexes. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. The fifth micro-scenario throws you into incident mode. A severe defect surfaces just before release, and an emergency hotfix is requested. Pressure is high because an audit is also coming up. Options will tempt you toward speed without process. Patch now, log later, or delay the launch entirely. But here is where policy matters most. The artifact that governs this decision is the emergency change policy, supported by rollback procedures and approval records. These exist so you can move quickly without sacrificing traceability. The best next action is to invoke the emergency change process. That means documenting the hotfix request, capturing approvals in real time, preparing rollback instructions, and post-formalizing the decision after the patch. This balances urgency and discipline. Auditors see that you use the approved emergency path, not improvisation. Stakeholders see speed. Operations sees rollback safety. By contrast, patching quietly without records creates compliance risk. Delaying unnecessarily wastes momentum. Escalating without a plan signals chaos. The emergency policy is there for exactly this moment. Use it. The sixth micro-scenario highlights benefits drift. After handover, adoption lags and no clear benefit owner is present. Operations prioritizes other tasks, and the dashboard is stale. The options might tempt you to add more features, assume benefits will improve on their own, or report partial savings to mask the gap. The artifact to consult here is the benefits register, which should list each benefit, its metric, and its assigned owner. The RACI chart and communications plan also help clarify ownership. Without these, benefits drift into invisibility. The correct move is to reconfirm or assign a benefit owner, restart the cadence of reporting, deliver minimal fixes or job aids to support adoption, and reforecast benefits honestly. This restores accountability and transparency. Benefits don't realize themselves, someone must own them. Adding features ignores the adoption issue. Assuming success later is wishful thinking. Masking the data is misleading. The disciplined answer preserves governance, clear owner, honest metrics, visible cadence. This is benefits management, not just delivery. Looking back at these 6 micro-scenarios, a clear pattern emerges. Wrong answers almost always overpromise. They try to do everything, escalate immediately, skip evidence, or hide problems. Right answers almost always start with the artifact and protect cadence, quality, or baselines. This is the logic the exam is designed around. Distractors look attractive because they appeal to values speed, loyalty, appeasement, but they sacrifice process. Recognizing this pattern makes traps easier to spot, even in rapid-fire conditions. One way to strengthen this awareness is to call out the pattern when you see it. If an option says do everything, recognize it as a distractor. If it escalates before analysis, mark it mentally as a trap. If it re-baselines without impact analysis, flag it. If it signs off on intent, dismiss it. By labeling these, you train your eye to spot them quickly. The correct option is almost always the one that keeps you inside artifacts and policy. This pattern awareness turns guessing into elimination, which speeds you up in timed sets. Now let's test with a mini redrill. Here's the first quick stem. A vendor insists a change is harmless and asks for verbal approval. Which artifact do you check? The contract file with the change clause. What verb guides you? Analyze. The correct action is to require impact analysis and follow the modification path. Here's the second stem. A backlog item is contested. The team says it's incomplete. The sponsor says it meets intent. Which artifact? The RTM and acceptance criteria. What verb? Verify. The correct move is to facilitate, review, and record the decision. These 2 quick drills reinforce the habit of naming both the verb and the artifact. Speaking them aloud cements the link. For example, analyze, contract clause, or verify RTM. This keeps you from rushing straight to action without grounding. On exam day, this verbal cue, even if whispered silently to yourself, acts as a brake. It reminds you, verb defines timing, artifact defines evidence. Action flows naturally from those 2 anchors. Practicing this rhythm repeatedly makes it automatic. As you debrief your own performance in these drills, tag misses with the K, P, R, or M system. Was it a knowledge gap about a contract? Was it a process miss where you skipped impact analysis? Was it a rush error, clicking too quickly? Or was it a misread of the stem? By tagging errors, you stop thinking of them as random mistakes and start seeing them as patterns. Each pattern can then be countered with a fix script, as we practiced in earlier debrief labs. This closes the loop between drills and durable learning. To lock this practice into your study plan, add 3 verb triggers to your notes. First, next, and best. Write 1 example action for each. For first, say, gather evidence with the right artifact. For next, say, act on the analysis through policy. For best, say, pick the option that balances value with compliance and cadence. These short reminders make it easier to stay calm when you're pressed. They tell you exactly what lens to apply to the question stem. Also build a small artifact map. Scope issues go to the scope baseline or RTM. Risk issues go to the risk register. Scope changes go to the change log. Benefits problems point to the benefits register. Vendor disputes require contracts and SOWs. Having this map visible while practicing keeps your mind anchored. Over time, you won't need it written. You'll recall it instinctively. But in the early phase, it's a useful crutch to prevent artifact mismatch errors. Finally, schedule a short sprint of 10 timed questions at target pace. Mark each answer with the verb you spotted and the artifact you used. Debrief misses with tags and speak the fixed script aloud. Repeat this cycle tomorrow and again a week later. This is how rapid-fire practice turns into instinct. The scripts become natural, the artifacts come to mind faster, and the distractors lose their power. That is the point of this lab, to train your brain to stay calm, structured, and professional under pressure. When practiced consistently, these micro-scenarios build a muscle memory for exam success and for professional leadership. On the exam, they help you eliminate traps quickly and act with confidence. On real projects, they keep you calm in the face of stakeholders, auditors, or vendors demanding shortcuts. The reflex is the same: verb first, artifact second, action through policy third. With enough rehearsal, this sequence becomes second nature. That's how you stay steady when others push for chaos. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.